All right, so for today's math lesson, we're going to be talking about finding the unknown side lengths. So sometimes we're going to be given rectangles that are giving us some of the side lengths, but not all of them. So we have to kind of use our knowledge about what we know about rectangles and how that's going to help us find the unknown sides. Before I do this at all, I want to first just write my area and perimeter formulas on the top. So I know that area equals length times width. And I know that perimeter equals to add all the sides. Just going to have that up there so I remember what those are for. Now, it says, given the rectangle's area, find the unknown side length. So the unknown side length is going to be the side that we don't have a number to. So here we have 8 centimeters and X centimeters. So this here is my unknown side. This is what I'm looking for. I want to know 8 times what is going to give me X centimeters. Okay? And then I know that it says in here, just highlight this. What's in here is my area, right? The space inside. So 80 square centimeters. All right. I'm just going to write a little equation down here. There's also something else I'm going to do. I kind of don't want to use X because it gets me a little bit confused because I use X as my multiplication sign. So I'm just going to change this to a different letter. Let's say it's J. We'll use that as a different variable. I'm just going to cross this out and do a J. Okay, so I'm going to be looking for the unknown side of J. So I know that area equals length times width. And then I'm going to ask myself, well, what part of this equation do I have? Do I have the area? I do have the area. It says 80 square centimeters. So I'm going to write 80 in my area spot. Then I'm going to say, well, do I have the length? Well, I see that the length is the side that I'm missing for. So that's the side that I'm looking for. I'm just going to put a J here. Times, do I have the width? Yes, I do. It's 8 centimeters. So 8. So now I'm just asking myself, how do I find this missing number? Well, there's 2 ways I can do this. I can say, well, what number times 8 is going to give me 80? And we know that 8 times what gives us 80? 10, right? So I could say that J is 10, right? And don't ever forget to put your units. So we have 10 centimeters. So that's one way I could have did it. I could have said 8 times what gives me 80. Or I can ask myself, well, what do I know about the inverse operation of multiplication? I know that the inverse operation is division. So I could have also did, well, I have a total area of 80 centimeters, and I'm going to divide that by 8 to get that missing side. 8 goes into 8 one time, right? 8 times 1 is 8. 0. I bring down that other 0. 8 goes into 0 times, right? 10. Or I might not even have to even do it that way. I might already know, well, 80 divided by 8 is 10. So that was another way I could have gotten that unknown side. All right, let's look at the next one. So again, I have a square here, right? And it says 7 centimeters. And then I have an unknown side of X centimeters. Again, I don't like using the X. I'm going to just change that. Let's do H. I'll do H. So I'm looking for H centimeters. If I have a total area, right, I know my total area is 49, and I have one of my sides, which is 7, I have to basically just ask myself, 7 times what gives me 49? Or I can say 49 divided by 7, which is the inverse operation. And that will also give me what H is. And if you know your basic facts, you know that 7 times 7 gives you 49. There's something else I want to point out in this specific problem. So here, I also noticed when I looked at this rectangle, that this is, if it's a it's a square. So if I know it's a square, I know that all the sides are equal. If all the sides are equal in a square and they gave me one side, I already know that each side is 7 centimeters, right? 7, 7, 7, and 7, because squares have all equal sides. That would be another way that I could figure out that unknown side. All right, let's move on. All right, now it says, given the rectangle's perimeter, find the unknown side length. So this is why reading is really important in math, because now they're telling us the perimeter. They didn't tell us what the area is. So remember, the perimeter is all the sides added together. It is not the inside. It is this side plus this side plus this side plus this side. It's going to give us a total perimeter of 120 centimeters. So right away, I'm going to write down an equation. So I know my perimeter, right, is add all sides. That's my equation. Add all sides. Okay. Now I'm going to say, well, do I know what my perimeter is? Yes. They told me it's 120. So I'm going to fill in 120 for my perimeter. And then I'm going to put blanks for the amount of sides I have in this shape. Well, it's a rectangle, so I have 4 sides. So I can do blank plus blank plus blank plus blank. So all these 4 sides added up are going to give me 120 centimeters. Now, we have to think about, well, how are we going to figure this out? They only give us one side length. How am I going to know this? This is where knowing the attributes of rectangles comes in handy, right? We know that a rectangle has 2 pairs of parallel sides that are equal in length. That means that this side equals this side, and that the top and bottom equal each other. That means that if the top is 20, the parallel side is also 20, which means the bottom's 20 centimeters. So right away, now I have 2 lengths. So I'm just going to fill that in. I know that one of the lengths is 20 and another one is 20. And then I'm still trying to figure out my unknown side. Again, I'm going to just change that. Let's do M. We'll do M as our unknown side. So now I know that 20 plus 20 plus M is going to give me a total of 120 centimeters. Well, how can I figure this out? Before I even go into how to figure this out, I want you to just look at this and think to yourself, well, for area, we were using multiplication, right? We said that we could use the inverse operation, which is division. In perimeter, we're using addition. So we should probably be using the inverse operation of addition to help us find that missing side in perimeter. So the inverse operation would be subtraction. To do that, I'm just going to make it a little bit easier. I'm going to put these 2 sides together. So I know that 20 plus 20 is 40. So far I have 120 equals 40 plus M plus M. Okay. I'm going to just ignore these M's for a second, and I'm going to think of that inverse operation, right, of addition is subtraction. So I'm going to do 120 minus 40. 2 minus 4, I can't do that. I can take away from the 1. The 2 becomes a 12. 12 minus 4 is 8. So I have 80. That means that there's 80 left over. So they're basically telling you that this side plus this side is going to equal 80. And I know that this side has to be the same number as this side because they are the same exact length. So I'm going to say 80 equals what plus what. And remember, these 2 numbers have to be exactly the same. So I can just, well, say to myself, well, I know that 40 plus 40 is 80. Right? Or you might have said, well, 80 divided into 2 equal pieces would give me 40 because I know that they have to be the same. So now I have my missing length. Therefore, M or X equals 40 centimeters. And then I'm just going to fill it in over here. 40 centimeters, 40 centimeters. Okay. To double check that you're correct, if you're talking about perimeter, that means that when you add all the sides, so this side plus this side plus this side plus this side, I should get a total of 120 centimeters. 20 plus 20 is 40. 40 plus 40 is 80. 80 plus 40 gives me 120. I am correct. Now let's look at the next one. The next one is working with a bigger number, and here they're giving us the perimeter, right? 1,000 meters. Before you even start, I want you to tell me what shape is this. It is a type of rectangle, but what do you notice about this specific rectangle? You might notice that this is a square, right? Squares have all equal sides. So I don't even have to do anything with this problem. I can just say, well, if one side is 250, that means that all the sides have to be 250. Because I already know that squares have equal length. So if they gave me one side, I know all the sides. Now let's just check that that's correct. So if it's correct, that means that when I add all four sides, I'm going to get a perimeter of 1,000 meters. So let's check that. All right. 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. Carry the 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Did I get 1,000? I sure did. So the missing piece here was 250 meters. All right. Let's go to the next part. All right, now this is getting a little bit trickier. So it says each of the following rectangles has a whole number side length. Whole number side length. So they're just telling you that this is going to be a whole number, this will be a whole number. Given the area and perimeter, find the length and width. So here, they're not only giving you the perimeter, they're giving the area and the perimeter. So let's just first look at what we know. I know that this is a rectangle, which means the top and bottom length are going to be the same amount of centimeters, and the two sides are going to be the same. So before I even go to perimeter, I always like to do it with area first. I'm going to just look at 24 square centimeters. Again, just keep writing that equation. Area equals length times width. Okay, what can I fill in? Well, I have an area. I have 24 square centimeters, and I don't have my length and width. This is where my basic facts comes into play. I can ask myself, what are some of the factors of 24, right? What two numbers give you 24? Let's test it out. I know that 6 and 4 give me 24, correct? But we need to make sure that those numbers would work as perimeter. So I'm going to temporarily just fill them in, right? Let's pretend that our length is 6 and our width is 4. And I'm just going to fill them in all around, right? If the top is 6 and the bottom 6. If the side is 4, then the other side is 4. Now, if my perimeter is 20 centimeters, that means that when I add these numbers, I have to get 20. So 6 plus 4 is 10. 6 plus 4 is another 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. So look, I already found it within my first try. Let's pretend that I didn't choose those two factors. You might have to do trial and error. You might have to try more than once. Because what if I said, well, I have an area of 24, and I know that 8 times 3 is 24. Now, if I filled that rectangle in with 8 and 3 instead, I'm just going to draw a little separate one down here. Let's see. Oh, sorry. 3 and 3. Let's check. 8 plus 3 is 11, right? 8 plus another 3 is 11. So if I added 8 plus 3 plus 8 plus 3, I get an answer of 22, which is not my perimeter. So that means that 8 and 3 couldn't have been the sides. So you might have to play around with your factors and see, well, which ones work for both area and for perimeter. Let's look at this next one now. So here again, I have 24 square meters. They're telling me my area, which is what's inside, and my perimeter, which is all around. And I want to find my lengths. Again, I'll write my equation for area. And then I'm just going to fill in what I have. I meant to fill this in. I already know my area. So I will fill in 24. So again, I'm playing around with the factors. I'm saying what two numbers give me 24, but then when I add all the sides, I get 28. What's good about the fact that we just did 24 is we kind of already know which factors work to get you 20. So I wouldn't probably choose 6 and 4 for this one, right? Because we know that if we had the factors of 6 and 4 and two of the sides were the same on each and we added them, we would get 20. And here they're telling us the perimeter is 28. So let's think of some other factors. We said 8 and 3. Well, 8 and 3 gave us a perimeter of 22, which again is not the same. Let's just think of all the factors that equal 24. So I know that 1 times 24 gives me 24. 2 times 12 gives me 24. 3 times 8 gives me 24. 4 times 6 gives me 24, right? These are all my factor sets. I'm going to eliminate the ones that we just used. We know that, well, 3 and 8 isn't going to work because when we did that, we got a perimeter of 22. I know that 4 and 6 is not going to work because when we put all those sides in, we got a perimeter of 20. Now I have just two choices left, right? I have to either use 1 times 24 or 2 times 12. Well, you can kind of just ask yourself, well, you know that if one of the sides was 24, that means the other side would have to be 24, which right away, when you add them, is going to be more than 28. So let's try 2 and 12. All right, so let's pretend that the width is 12 and the length is 2. Now, I know that 2 times 12 gives me an area of 24, but I want to make sure that it also gives me a perimeter of 28. Perimeter means to add all the sides. If this side is 12, that means this side is 12. If this side is 2, that means that this side is 2. Let's see, I know that 12 plus 12 is 24. And then I know that 2 plus 2 is 4. If I add them all together, I get 28. And I found my answer. That means that 2 and 12 give me an area of 24, and they give me a perimeter of 28. Now you're going to move on to your independent work, and it will say Tuesday, 4/15/21.